Welcome to the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. Music from the wrong side of the tracks. This is a show that drags you through the gritty alleys of sleaze rock, gutter glam, and all forms of dirty rock and roll. And now, here are your hosts, Andy and Gary.
Hey people, welcome back to another episode of the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. I'm Gary, and with me as always is Andy.
Hello everybody, thanks for joining us today.
In our era of obscure bands that we like to pull out of our never-ending list of obscure bands, today we're going to make another two-part episode, but this two-part episode has something in common, and that is the man Andy McCoy. We're going to cover two of the acts that he's responsible for outside of the band Hanoi Rocks. So, Andy, why don't you tell the people who's the first band we're going to cover in our segment today?
The first band we're going to talk about is the legendary Cherry Bombz. That's B-O-M-B-Z if you want to look them up.
So, Andy, can you tell me what the definition of a cherry bomb is?
It's a firework, or was a firework before they were banished.
Exactly. And we're here to educate peeps. We're not just here to entertain, although there's a fine line between the both, you know?
Right.
A fine line between true love and a restraining order, but that remains to be seen. Anyways, a cherry bomb is a small, spherical, red firecracker. This is designed to produce a loud explosion, Andy, generally featuring a fuse that kind of resembles a cherry stem, and it's known for its high explosive capability, Andy.
Is this why we can't buy them off the shelf any longer?
Well, cherry bombs are illegal because they contain dangerous amounts of explosive flash powder, Andy, far exceeding the 50 milligram limit for consumer fireworks,
So what
making
are we
them,
talking?
well, yeah, they're more known as explosive devices rather than fireworks.
Like a stick of dynamite, eh?
I mean, they were so dangerous that these things were banned federally way back in 1966, Andy.
1966. Yeah,
You know,
we still talk about them.
The devices, they say, can cause severe injuries, including, Andy, amputation and death.
Amputation and death.
Because nothing says anything more than a family picnic than a little 4th of July celebrations, a little amputation, a little death,
Right.
you know. Okay, we'll throw the hot dogs in, you know. But anyways, these are designed as destructive devices rather than safe fireworks, you know.
But these used to be available for kids to purchase.
Well, original cherry bombs, they contained over 1 gram of flash powder. Now, I'm not familiar with flash powder, Andy.
Right.
We're certainly familiar with different forms of powders, but flash powder
Sold in a gram.
not being one of them, you know.
Right.
But every cherry bomb had over 1 gram of flash powder, which is over 20 times the legal limit allowed in consumer fireworks.
20 times the legal amount.
But we're not referring to these particular cherry bombs, are we, Andy?
We are not.
Well, tell me about who we are referring to.
We are talking about a band that had all the pedigree to be one of the biggest things on the planet. It was a literal who's who of the sleaze and punk scenes, but they burned out before most of the MTV crowd ever knew they even existed. We're talking about the Cherry Bombz.
With a Z.
And to understand the Cherry Bombz, you have to understand the wreckage that they climbed out of. We're back in late 1984. Hanoi Rocks were on the verge of conquering America. They had the look, they had the songs, they had the swagger. Then came that fateful December car crash that unfortunately killed drummer Razzle.
And we remember that time period well, Andy, do we not?
We do very well.
Did we not already have procured tickets to see them?
We did. I still have mine packed away in my memorabilia.
Ah, thank you, Vince Neil.
Yeah, you might have yours out in your garage. You know, so Hanoi Rocks, after Razzle's death, they try to limp forward. They sign up with Terry Chimes, who was the original drummer for The Clash, also played with them back around the combat rock time. He fills in on the drums, but, you know, the soul, it was gone. And by that point, by early 85, Michael Monroe, Sammy Offa, they walked away from the band, and basically Hanoi Rocks was dead.
And that's a tragedy.
Which is also a Hanoi Rocks song.
Oh, kismet, Andy.
But Andy McCoy and Nasty Suicide, they were not ready to go back to Finland and get day jobs. These guys, they were the architects of that, I guess you could say, the gutter glam sound. You had that mix of Stonesy grit. You had that punk rock urgency. But these guys, they wanted to keep the party going, but they needed a new vehicle to keep that party going.
Shall we backtrack to the name Nasty Suicide for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, Nasty Suicide?
That's the name.
Being pulled over by the local constabulary?
Well, imagine what it was like in grade school with that name.
What's all this about the Nasty Suicide then, right? Suicide name? Well, your parents named you that then?
Yes, they did. Suicide, comma, nasty.
Well, clean suicide would be completely, I laid the plastic down before I stood there with the revolver. But nasty suicide? Probably looks good on, the back of the album cover, though.
Right.
But hey, we digress as usual because that is what we do here. This isn't just some local startup band. This was kind of like a mid-'80s supergroup that was born in kind of the dive bars of London, as they all are. This band was kind of essentially Hanoi Rocks maybe 2.0, but with kind of like a little bit of a serious injection maybe of, dare I say, power pop?
Power pop.
I don't know. Judge for yourself, peeps. The lineup featured Andy McCoy and Nasty Suicide, and this is obviously the twin guitar engine of the former Hanoi Rocks. So you've got McCoy's signature sloppy yet genius riffs, but you also temper that with Nasty's steady rhythm, and that provides kind of the DNA of that twin guitar engine.
Exactly.
They added this guy, a Finnish export on bass, for the while anyways he was in the band, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but it's Timo. It looks like Caltio.
Correct.
Was on bass, but he got later replaced by Dave Truguna, and that should be a familiar name to people out there because Andy of?
He was with Sham 69 and also Lords of the New Church.
Well, that distinctly added a distinct punk pedigree to the band right there.
Exactly.
We're going to go back to who on drums again, Andy?
Terry Chimes.
And he's also drummed for some heavyweights since then, but most notably for The Clash, right?
Right.
And he, was the drummer for Hanoi Rocks. So he's given the band kind of that professional backbone and backbeat,
Right.
But who's the wild card, Andy?
The wild card is the singer.
The singer, a female, Andy. Am I going to get this name right?
No.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. As my podcast member right there giving me approval. Anita Chellemah, Chellemah. Anita Chellemah?
I believe that's correct.
She's the singer, and we've yammered on long enough. You're going to get to hear this voice and this singer and this band that is put together. We're going to give you a little taste. This song is called 100 Degrees in the Shade. Here we go. You know, Anita, she brought a theatrical powerhouse vocal style that moved the sound away from the Michael Monroe Jagger-esque swagger kind of, and moved everything towards something more akin to like maybe a street tough Blondie. I don't know.
Yeah,
she kind of reminds me a little bit, a lot actually, of Sally Cato from Smash Gladys in her range, her tone, her delivery.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there.
But believe it or not, before the Cherry Bombz, Anita was in a synth pop group called Toto Coelho.
Toto Coelho.
You might remember this one, peeps out there, if you are familiar back with those 80s MTV tracks or whatever. They're all dressed
as us.
Yeah, the song was called I Eat Cannibals. Yeah, you guys know it. I eat cannibals. It's for animals.
A big dance hit.
Yeah, so she's the leader of this band, or maybe not the leader, but now she's the vocalist for the Cherry Bombz. So we're going to give you a taste of this little MTV nugget from back in the 80s. This is what she was doing before she got into the Cherry Bombz. This is Toto Coelho. The song is I Eat Cannibals. We're not going to bore you with a whole bunch of it, but here it is.
Just a taste.
So if you put this on paper, I guess it sounds crazy. You take a pop singer and then you kind of throw her into a den of like Finnish rock addicts. And I don't know, I guess Anita had been writing material for a solo project with McCoy. So she wasn't just kind of like a random choice. There was some thought behind it, you know.
It did seem very random at the time.
She kind of has this, what do you want to say? How could I compare? It's kind of like remember that old timey group, the Ronettes? She had this Ronettes gone wrong vibe that kind of fit perfectly over the band's messy glam punk infused attack. I don't know. She was tough kind of, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's stylish, and you have to have a rasp in that voice that could cut through a wall of Marshalls. So she definitely had that.
Yeah.
You just can't say that she just wasn't a front woman. She was kind of like, I don't know, maybe the lightning rod that the band needed to distance themselves from the ghost of fucking Michael Monroe.
Yeah, I think most people would have expected them to come up with like a Michael Monroe Jr. for their band, but it was a bold choice to go in a different direction. The Cherry Bombz, they made their debut back in 1985. They had a self-titled EP on the Finnish Yahoo label. It featured Hot Girls in Love, which kind of becomes their calling card, and it was their first video. But by 1986, that EP hits the US and the UK, and apparently like one version of it is missing the song Pin-Up Boy. But the hype's real. Everybody's interested. We all want to know what's going on with the former members of these bands.
Where have I heard that song before, Hot Girls in Love?
It's an interesting choice for this band because most of it, well, at least on this side of the pond, that's a Loverboy song.
The band Loverboy?
Yeah, out of Canada.
From the United States?
No, from Canada.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm listening.
Yeah, it was just an odd choice. It seemed like a really weird thing, but you know, it could have been worse. Could have been Working for the Weekend.
Give us some of that song, Andy.
All right, let's listen to a bit of that song, Hot Girls in Love. This song really cooks. So I like this much better than the original.
Oh, I'm so young and hard.
The band's sound, it was exactly what we love here in the gutter. It wasn't that polished, hairsprayed MTV metal like Pretty Boy Floyd. It was songs.
That's a callback, kids.
Yeah. It was House of Ecstasy was one of the songs. Oil and Gasoline was another. The Cherry Bombz, they weren't concerned with polish, like the smooth radio hits. They were leaning into something a little bit nastier, which is why Nasty was in the band. But they were kind of like a slightly stripped down, but very swagger heavy rock, but definitely wasn't really Hanoi Rocks 2.0 like, we would have expected. They followed that up with the EP, The House of Ecstasy. And for American audiences over here, instead of getting like just those two EPs, they combined everything together and had this collection called 100 Degrees in the Shade.
Well, let's combine it for the Yanks.
Get them to spend their money more than once. But they eventually took the show to the States. They even opened, get this, they opened a run of dates for Poison, who would have been really popular at that moment. But can you imagine that? You got the polished, neon-drenched Poison on one side and Cherry Bombz on the other with their kind of sweaty, gritty, and, full of that Hanoi Rocks DNA.
For those keeping count, that's another 3 grits to add to the episode total count, lads. Could you imagine? I'm sure that the former Hanoi Cherry Bombz people are just laughing their ass off at Poison on stage, you know?
Yeah, they're like, oh, we influenced this?
Yeah, but I'm sure Poison was laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, they definitely were. Which one was more successful? I forget. Was it Poison or was it Cherry Bombz?
Was it the one album Cherry Bombz?
Right. When the Cherry Bombz hit the States over here, Gary and I were lucky enough to catch them at our local watering hole, our favorite little dive, the Mason Jar.
How many times have we referenced the Mason Jar?
Probably about 10 times in all of our episodes.
I don't know. Anyways, this is legendary little clubs. Yeah. So Andy is correct. We actually got to see the Cherry Bombz when they were in the States.
We did.
We have a little aside, don't we, Andy?
We do.
Who do we dedicate our episodes to at the end of every episode? Who do we mention?
We always mention Mink.
Mink. And who is he to us?
Mink was a great friend of ours that we played in a little bit with some bands, and we've just known him for decades.
And he was supposed to be a podcast member.
He was going to join the show, but unfortunately, life had other plans, and he's no longer with us.
This is a definition of a wild spirit, and we're not going to go too far off the rails here, but we're at the Cherry Bombz show. We're watching the act. The act is over. We're standing there in the crowd. We look like rock guys because we were rock guys. Right. So Andy McCoy strikes up a conversation with our buddy Mink, and he asks, what, Andy?
He asks Mink if Mink will get him some heroin.
Allegedly. And
so he's talking to Mink, and Mink's like, oh yeah, I can get you some. What do you want? You want this? You want that? Then he's like, just you give me your money, I'll go get the heroin for you.
As if our friend Mink had any connections to heroin at all, but he was wanting to please the rock star, so he's playing it up. Give me your money, I'll get bunch of the junk. And what happens?
So Mr. McCoy informs Mr. Mink that, over in Europe, I'm a huge star and I don't have to pay for my drugs over there. To which Mink replies, welcome to America, buddy. Conversation kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah. As if at 11:30, 12:30 at night in Phoenix in the middle of the night, my friend Mink can score this and make this happen before Andy's bus pulls off out into the night,
Right. Yeah. And this was a school night. So.
We digress way past this, but if you know anything, this is a nod to our friend Mink, here we go.
Let's listen to a bit of that song, House of Ecstasy. This is a really hot number. This one really moves along. We think you're going to like this one a lot.
Andy says they're all going to move along, but then again, why would we play the slow, dirgy ones? Anybody can do that.
This one's going to crawl.
Yeah, this one you just want to skip over. Cherry Bombz, they did play the legendary Marquee Club in London, and that gave us the live album Coming Down Slow. If you listen to that record, you can hear the potential of a band. It's loud, it's proud, it's got that classic McCoy sound and structure. Yeah. So what happened? The chemistry that made them a supergroup also made them volatile. So by 1986, the wheels are coming off.
Not very long.
They never managed to get a full studio album off the ground beyond the EPs and the live tracks. And so Andy and Nasty went off to record as a different project called the Suicide Twins. Mm-hmm. And eventually Terry Chimes ended up being the drummer for Black Sabbath on the Eternal Idol tour, and Anita moved into television and solo work. So Cherry Bombz, they left behind a handful of tracks that still sound like an ultimate soundtrack for a night that you're not going to remember. And the Cherry Bombz were kind of like a bridge. They're kind of like a link between the 70s glam of the Dolls and the sleaze explosion that Guns N' Roses would perfect maybe just a couple of years later. Mm-hmm. They didn't get the gold records.
They did not.
But they kept the spirit alive when everything else was getting just a little too sanitized.
I listened to an interview with Dave Traguna yesterday. The guy asked him what happened, like, why did Andy fire Anita from the Cherry Bombz? And Dave claims that she was not fired, but at their last show, which took place in New York City, there was a falling out between Andy and Anita and kind of like a lot of tension in the room. So Billy Idol sweeps in to save the day and ends up taking her away for a couple of weeks to the Bahamas. So, to make her feel better.
Hey, would you like to come along with me then, eh?
Dave says that basically that was it. That was their last gig. So things just fell apart from there.
Well, you steal the lead singer.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Billy had his own backup singers. What does he need Anita for?
If anybody out there is searching for the Cherry Bombz LP or album, you can find this on the Discogs website, and it's going for the handsome price of $2 American.
$2.
So if you're searching for this or you want to add this to your stack, there's a clue right there.
It'll only be a couple bucks more for shipping. So it's
all right, so there's a hiatus between Cherry Bombz and what we're going to discuss next. So before we leave, what do you think about playing a live track from that Live in London album?
Yeah,
just to close out a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you want to play?
Do they have one that moves along?
Do they have one that creeps? That one that puts you to sleep? Yeah, this is Coma Slow. No, this is a very cool track. It is a little bit more subdued, not just the balls out rocker that we normally choose for our tracks here. Give this one a try. This is live. This is Sweet Pretending. We're going to take just a moment here to have a nice adult frosty beverage with you all. So here you go. And I'm going to let Andy describe before we get into the second meteor part of today's show.
Meteor. We're going to talk about meteors?
Yeah. There are a couple of side projects before we get there. So, Andy, fill us in what happened after.
Yeah. Before we move on to Andy McCoy's other post-Hanoi band, Shooting Gallery, we want to take a bit of a side trip down a side road here that there's a reason we're doing this. This kind of bridges the gap and explains why some people were involved in this next project. So we're going to take you to a time when Lords of the New Church, they'd reached their end. Everybody had fallen apart there. So left without a band, you had the Lord's rhythm section of Dave Traguna and drummer Danny Fury. They get together, start rehearsing, working on songs with Steve Von Saint, who would play with Angels in Vain. So you may be familiar with them. Sparks fly, and they're really getting it along. So they invite singer from New York City, Billy G. Bang. They get him to come over to London and see if he's he's worth having in the band.
Paging, Mr. Billy Bang. Paging, pick up a white courtesy phone, Mr. Billy Bang.
And their sound was the typical sleazy rock, but there's a little bit of that Hanoi Rocks DNA.
Don't you dare say grittier.
But they're a little dirtier, definitely a little bit darker. They're not as happy as some of the music would have been back in the 80s. Maybe the difference between heroin and coke. I don't know. What am I saying? So who was Mr. Billy G. Bang, you might ask? Gary?
Well,
Billy.
I didn't ask, but,
Billy Bang Douglas, also known as the previously mentioned Billy G. Bang, is one of the...
Because there's such a distinction between the two. I wouldn't want to get confused with somebody else.
Billy Bang G.
Mr. Bang, would you please come to the office and bring everything in your desk with you, please? There's some pictures that have surfaced at work here, and
Billy was one of those figures that kind of floats around in the scene from the late 80s to the early 90s and that sleaze rock underground in New York City, where bands like the Throbs would have come from. He's definitely not a household name, but if you're digging into that Hanoi Rocks adjacent scene, he's right in the middle of it, really. He's messy, he's talented, and just a little bit dangerous.
Just a little.
Just a little.
I could cut a bitch.
So Kill City Dragons, they've got all their members. They're up and running. They quickly built a reputation as a hot but very chaotic live band. They had tons of buzz, but also they had tons of problems.
No.
Oh, I know.
No, you don't say.
No, it's surprising for any band we talk about, but that does happen. They end up with a self-released EP, and then throughout 89 and 90, they were really kind of like the hottest band on the London Underground. But their bad reputation, well, it just keeps record labels at bay. As Billy put it, we were hardcore drug addicts, seriously fucked up, and more than a little dangerous.
Oh, could I have an advance, please, on the album sales?
Why?
I've got new equipment that I need to purchase.
Equipment? What kind of equipment?
Just leave the music to us, lads. Give us the advance. It's going to be moody, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Kill City Dragons EP entitled Let 'Em Eat Cake. That was later re-released as part of that full-length album titled Kill City Dragons, and this was in 1990, and this was on the label Wide Boy Records. The honeymoon phase, well, it turned sour pretty damn quick. There was friction, grinding the gears of the band. The engine had just finally seized up. And Dave Traguna and Billy G. Bang eventually walk away from the band, but let's just say they were lured away by the scent of fresh ink and Andy McCoy's deep pockets.
So there you go. You've got the cherry bombs, and then you've got a little segue down a side street into Kill City Dragons that had hope and promise, but never really materialized everything. And there we go with the EP nonsense again, extended play, but I'm going to give you 3 fucking songs, so I don't know. The EP thing again, right? But Dave Traguna, Billy G. Bang, bang! They walk, just like Andy says. We're done, so there you go. Kill City Dragons are done. So what's the next thing on the list? Where are we going from here? What's another Andy McCoy project, again, that's going to make our list and be a one-off, but still fondly remembered in the scene? I think this band is going to be Shooting Gallery, Andy.
Shooting Gallery.
And
Good
again,
choice.
We're here to inform, not just to entertain, so bear with us as I give you the definition of Shooting Gallery. According to people in the know, i.e. the internet,
yeah, Google.
a shooting gallery is primarily an enclosed, often covered range for practicing with firearms. It also refers to amusement park arcade games with moving targets and prizes to win.
Yeah, which is probably what most people are familiar with.
But as a slang, Andy,
Slang?
shooting gallery is an illicit location for drug injection.
So not the same as the fairground.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a definition and kind of uses examples. So we have the recreational training range, which is an indoor or outdoor venue equipped with targets for rifle and or handgun practice, Andy.
Correct.
When you move on to carnival amusement games, and usually that's found in a booth, typically found at fairs or amusement parks, featuring BBs or pellet guns and moving mechanical targets designed to be shot in order to win prizes.
Yeah, that most people never win.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my first real job, the first job that I had where the government reached into my pockets at the tender age of 15 to extract taxes from me.
Yeah.
I worked at an amusement park.
Get out of here.
I was 15 years old. The park was in Pennsylvania. It's called Waldemere Park. Park. It's one of the oldest still operating amusement parks in the country. It was founded in 1896. It's the fourth oldest in the country. The first roller coaster they put up was built in 1902. I got a job there at 15, and guess where they put me? The shooting gallery, Andy.
I was going to say the porta potties.
You would fill these fake-looking machine guns with racks of BBs, and you'd put a paper target on this string, and you would shoot the string down into the labyrinth of the pit, and these guys would try to shoot a red star out of the center of the paper.
Yeah, and the paper's bouncing around while they're shooting it.
You're just the law of inertia alone, and the people would go absolutely batshit crazy thinking, and they would take their time like they were fucking the Lone Ranger or a sniper in one of these, Tom Berenger movies or whatever, and they would shoot painstakingly this red star out of the circle. But what they didn't realize is when the bullet or the BB penetrates the paper, all it does is push the target back and out of the way. So they think they've won the giant teddy bear for their darling girlfriend. And I pull the paper back up and I show them the nith of red that's still on the paper, and they would go apoplectic, So
that was an uncomfortable ride home.
Again, I digress. But no, shooting gallery, the slang definition, Andy, and what we're trying to get to here is a specific location, often an abandoned building or an apartment where individuals go to purchase and inject illegal drugs, Andy.
So a family setting.
Yeah, often heroin, Andy.
Yes, often.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
It's a long way to get to the shooting gallery band, but do you think Andy McCoy was a firearms enthusiast, Andy?
I don't believe so.
Was Andy McCoy a big fan of amusement parks and arcade games?
Maybe, but I kind of have a feeling that's not the case.
Well, that only leaves one other explanation, Andy.
Only one? Allegedly.
Did you know the first known use of the term shooting gallery was in the year 1836, Andy?
1836.
But we all know what this is. This is just heroin, isn't it? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty, lads. It's all about the white powder. It's about the heroin. Do you know how many songs have been written about heroin, Andy?
I do not.
Well, let's dive down that well just for a second. We're going to get to the cherry bomb. We already got to the cherry. We're going to get to shooting gallery. Bear with us, lads. So in 1967, the Velvet Underground, they released the song I'm Waiting for the Man.
Waiting for the Man.
This song's written by Lou Reed, and it's allegedly about traveling to Harlem to score heroin.
Which probably would have been a frightening journey back in the day.
And apparently the deal takes place near the intersection of Lexington Avenue and 125th Street in Harlem. So that's pretty specific.
Yeah, very specific.
But also on the same album from 1967, they just write a song called Heroin. Fuck it. We're just going to write a song called Heroin. Yeah. Velvet Underground, 1967.
Yeah. If you haven't figured out from the first song, the second song should show you that we like heroin here.
And then you've got the Rolling Stones, and they come along in 1971 with the song Sister Morphine.
Were any of them known for using heroin?
Allegedly. Well, right in the song Dead Flowers, Andy, it features the literal lyric of, I'll be in my basement room with a needle and a spoon. It can't write it out anymore,
No.
Neil Young comes along in 1972 with The Needle and the Damage Done.
But his sounds more like it's not a pro-heroin song.
Well, and then let's flash forward a bit, but then you've got Guns N' Roses chipping in, no pun intended, with Mr. Brownstone in 1987.
Right.
A year later, we got Jane's Addiction in 1988 with the song Jane Says. Well, fuck, the entire band is named after heroin. It's Jane's Addiction, right?
Yeah, exactly.
88. So we're going to flash forward to, how about we move ahead to 1991 and Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
There you go. It's another classic.
In the following year, we got Junkhead by Alice in Chains.
There you go.
So I don't know. But yeah, Shooting Gallery. Interesting name for a band and leaves no doubt as to exactly what was going on.
Yeah, I think this was when somebody was very deep in their addiction.
Well, I don't know. We can only surmise here. Again, we're here to entertain. So let's get back to Shooting Gallery. This is Andy's next project. And Andy, at this time, he's flush with cash, you know. He's got kind of, I don't know, kind of the fuck you money that you only get by selling off the distribution rights to the Hanoi Rocks catalog to the suits at Uzi Suicide Records / Geffen, an off a subsidiary, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't Uzi Suicide one of the 4-song Guns N' Roses extended back in the day? Weren't they?
That was the label,
like a fucking suicide or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know. Uzi Suicide label, that was kind of the indie label. And that label was created, I guess, specifically to launch Guns N' Roses before they hit the stratosphere. So
yeah, before the Geffen records came out.
They tried to make it look like a DIY operation run out of a Hollywood gutter backstage somewhere, you know, but it was actually a vanity label, and it was funded and manufactured by Geffen Records. And again, we digress. Get this. Mr. Billy Bang, he wasn't even a Hanoi Rocks fan.
Not even a fan.
And he'd been explicitly warned by the legendary Stiv Bators. Stiv Bators of, Andy?
Lords of the New Church and the Dead Boys.
He was warned by Stiv. Stiv's giving this.
Yeah, Stiv is an edgy person, so him giving you a warning, you should listen.
Stiv says, never, ever trust Andy McCoy.
Never, ever.
But I don't know. Friendship carries a lot of weight, and Dave Traguna did the talking, and once Billy heard the demos that McCoy had been cooking up, the music drowned out Stiv's warnings, so Billy ignored his gut, and he listened to his friend, and he stepped into the line of fire as the new voice of Shooting Gallery. And this lineup is finally rounded out by the drummer, Paul Garisto.
And what could go wrong?
I guess the band should have been a fresh start, but instead it's one of those gloriously tangled glam punk family trees where everybody's been in 3 legendary bands and burned at least one bridge each along the way. So this wasn't some clean label-built project. It was kind of like a collision between guys who had already lived through the chaos, the hype, and the hangover of punk and glam's wildest years. And so for a brief second, it almost works.
Missed it by that much.
We're going to give you a song here. This one is a great song as well. We're not going to hype it up or whatever. Judge for yourself. This one's Teenage Breakdown.
At the center of it all, Andy McCoy. Post Hanoi Rocks, he's drifting through the wreckage of the 80s. The fairy tale's over. The scene's really shifting. He's still got that same crooked swagger, and, he's got a head full of the sharp, swaggering riffs that he always plays. But now he's surrounded by a different cast of survivors from that glam punk era. Enter Billy G. Bang.
This guy just is not going to go away, is he?
He is not.
Damn it, Bang.
He's a front man who didn't strut so much as he stumbled forward with intent. Less Sunset Strip pretty boy and a more downtown street poet with something to prove, like a chip on his shoulder. His voice, pure gravel and all attitude, which was really exactly what this band needed.
Maybe we could substitute grit for gravel.
There you go.
I don't know. It's a very gravelly voice.
Yeah, very gravelly voice.
Well, too bad he doesn't have a grit.
Right, or doesn't gargle with barbed wire.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. But then you got Dave Traguna on the bass. He's, punk rock royalty. This guy's already survived that UK punk explosion, and even then into the gothic aftermath that followed, with the Lords of the New Church. Sham 69 was pretty much straight ahead punk. Lords was that darker post-punk type of feel.
But what a resume this guy has.
Yeah, but he's not there for the trends, He's there to help hold down that bottom line and bring a little darkness into the mix. And behind the kit, Paul Garisto. He's keeping the whole thing. Yeah, he's trying to keep the whole thing from flying off the rails, at least temporarily. Paul, he was known for his work with Iggy Pop and then also with the Psychedelic Furs.
There's a stretch.
Yeah. And also, they brought in Joe Dog Almeida, the rhythm guitarist from the Dogs D'Amour, which is one of my favorite bands.
Yay!
The band that we talked about in episode number 1.
If you add him, then what?
He just joins for the U.S. tour, as a secondary guitarist, which would have been Nasty's job if Nasty had hung out. He added just a little bit more of that glam rock pedigree to the mix, because the Dogs, they were totally that gutter glam type of look and sound. And really, this is what Shooting Gallery is. They're like a pile of talent, pile of attitude. There's a lot of history, a lot of bad decisions, but somehow it's all held together just long enough for them to make just that one record. So speaking of that record, let's listen to a song from that album. This is the song I Mess Around. Check it out.
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing. By the time they show up in the early 90s, the world has already moved on from them. And Shooting Gallery, they're standing there with their sleeves rolled up, still bleeding rock and roll, but from a different decade.
Right.
They weren't polished. They weren't trendy. They sounded like a band that had maybe lived a little too hard, maybe.
Just a little.
And instead of sounding like slick early 90s hard rock, they came off more like a dirty late night bar version of everything that came before them, closer to the DNA of the Rolling Stones and the Faces than the hair metal scene that was already at that point starting to collapse already. So
Right.
I don't know how it happened, but somehow Shooting Gallery signed a U.S. record deal with Mercury Records.
That's impressive.
Getting signed to a major label like Mercury, which was part of the Polygram family, that's kind of to them a massive deal at the time.
Right.
Because it kind of puts them on the same roster as heavyweights like Kiss, Scorpions, and Bon Jovi.
Right. That's all very successful bands.
Yeah, I don't know. Mercury label was clearly trying to capture that lingering sleaze rock lightning in a bottle.
How'd that work out?
Well, for the band, not so good. They dropped one album. They dropped it in 1992. Seems like such a long time ago now.
So long ago.
But what can you say about it? It's kind of raw. It's loose, in a good way loose. And you don't want to use the word dangerous all the time to describe music, but just that enough to feel kind of real. They had no big second act, no redemption arc, just in, out, gone. Honestly, that's part of the charm. We're going to play another song from that Shooting Gallery album. We like this one a lot. It's a little bit of a departure. It's got a great chorus, a great hook. This song is called Dandelion. This one's worth listening to.
Since you first set eyes on me, so roll me over and lay me down. Wanna make sweet love with my dandelion. So roll me over and let's play around. Wanna go down with my honey and stroll downtown and make sweet love with my dandelion. Wanna make sweet love with dandelion. Check in my pocket for a ticket to hell. Come on and kiss me. Don't dare and diss me. I know you miss me ever since you first set eyes on me. So roll me over and lay me down. Wanna make sweet love with my dandelion. So roll me over and let's play around. Wanna go down with my honey and go down.
And because they were on a major label budget, the record had some serious muscle behind it because it was produced by Rick Browdy, or we've discussed this guy on many of our previous episodes.
Yeah,
He's the
multiple
guy.
times.
Yeah. Who did he produce, Andy?
I think, didn't he work with Smash Gladys?
That and
Poison. He's responsible for Look Who the Cat Dragged In, and
That's
that
their
sold
debut, right?
Very well.
yeah, I think he also didn't he do Faster Tamey? Didn't he? Yeah, I think he did Faster Pussycat's debut album as well.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
He just had that knack for making street rock sound expensive without losing the nastiness
the
behind
edge.
it, you know. And the record, it's mixed by Mark Dodson. This guy's known for his work with Anthrax and Suicidal Tendencies.
Which is a little out of our typical discussions.
Yeah, and it's mixed by this guy. He's known for works with those bands, which explains kind of why the guitars on the Shooting Gallery record have a bit more edge, a bit more bite than your average glam or pop record would.
Yeah.
At one time, they even managed to get the legendary Stones and Who session man Nicky Hopkins.
Nicky Hopkins.
Yeah, that guy's fantastic to play keyboards on the album, adding a touch of classic rock royalty to the mess. It's one of those classic cases where the band had the right label, the right producer, the right songs, but the early 90s were an uphill battle for this type of band always. So,
Exactly.
you know, both in the Cherry Bombz and in Shooting Gallery, because they're Andy McCoy songs, each one of those albums has the song titled House of Ecstasy. We thought it'd be fun here, Andy and I, to compare the versions and then give you a breakdown. So we're going to play you a little bit of both. We're going to play you a little bit of House of Ecstasy from the Cherry Bombz. Then we're going to come back and do a little bit of House of Ecstasy from Shooting Gallery. And then we're going to tell you who we like better. So bear with us. Listen to them. You can be part of this too, you know.
Take a ride with me.
The band caught a massive break in 1992 when they landed the opening slot for Kiss on their Revenge tour in the U.S.
Opening for Kiss couldn't get much better.
That's a pretty big feather in your cap there. But it wasn't like a full tour run. It was more like just a short support stint. I believe it was like 12 dates that were limited to the West Coast rather than like the full nationwide tour. It should have been the launch pad, but in true rock and roll fashion, the wheels came off almost immediately. But given the heavy drug use of this band, and Kiss is pretty well known for having an anti-drug stance between Paul and Gene, probably wasn't the best fit for a full tour anyhow. Probably wouldn't have made it from one end of the country to the other.
Ace was the most fun anyways. I don't care what the fuck you say.
Exactly. No argument there. Between internal friction, the usual musical differences, which is the polite way of saying everybody was probably exhausted, which is the polite way of saying substance abuse was probably a very big factor. You had a record label that didn't know what to do with this band, and the band kind of looked like they were from a different time, not really current with what was going on. So in like 1992, they just kind of break up shortly after that little Kiss tour. But Andy, he did briefly revive the name in 1994. He did a tour over in Finland, and he brought along original Hanoi Rocks drummer Gyp Casino, who was really missing from the scene until a couple of years ago when he popped up again at one of Michael Monroe's birthday bashes.
Is Gyp short for gypsy?
I'm not sure, but probably.
I'm Gypsy Casino, I am.
But the spark for Shooting Gallery, it's gone. So they called it quits later that year.
We're together. We're not. We're together. We're not. Let's give it one last try. Okay, we're gone.
Oh, the spark's gone. We got to go. Shooting Gallery definitely is not a success story. It's kind of a snapshot of a moment where punk, glam, pure stubborn attitude, they just kind of refuse to die, even as the world's actively turning their back on that scene. It's kind of like an after party where most people, they've already gone home, and the last few diehards are still hanging out at the bar, ordering one more and pretending the night's not over yet.
Last call, lads. I'm saying last call.
They're flashing the lights. It's time to go.
Yeah, so it's a bittersweet story. Both of these bands, they hang around for one album. In the case of Cherry Bombz, you get a live album or a live EP and some cobbled together tracks after it or whatever, Both Andy McCoy projects, both had merit, both had some songs. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We're going to come back and riff a little bit at the end of this, but we're going to play this song too. They do a cover song of Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl, and it is just stellar. I like their take on it, and this one's got a lot of soul behind it. So we're going to play this one and then come back. So this is Brown Eyed Girl. And also, if you wanted to purchase this Shooting Gallery, you can go to Discogs, and right now you can purchase this album for, count 'em, $3 American dollars.
$3 American dollars.
So you can have this in your rotation, lads. Don't say we didn't warn you. This is Brown Eyed Girl. This is Shooting Gallery. This is a great one.
Hey girl, come here. I think I love you, and I know you love me. Hey, when
Yes.
Since we're talking about Andy,
Andy.
what are your thoughts on Andy McCoy? And what do you think the ramifications are for having projects that kind of fizzle out?
Well, there's one constant factor in all these bands, and it's Andy.
I thought it was heroin.
Right. Well, that's okay. There's two.
Allegedly, lad.
Two factors in all of these bands: heroin and Andy, and those two are just linked together. It's allegedly a well-known fact. It has to be
I'm surprised he had the energy.
right.
For multiple projects.
Yeah.
And hey, we're just joking, lads. Anybody that's listening to this in the States or out of the States, we love this guy. We're just having some fun. So don't take any of this seriously.
We're huge Hanoi fans. Believe me.
Yeah,
But it had to be like a weird thing getting in a band with him, because on one hand, you got the legendary Andy McCoy. He's got Hanoi Rocks behind him. He's a great guitarist. He writes great songs.
What a track record.
Yeah. I mean, you can't.
Fashion plate.
Yeah. I mean,
entertaining to watch on stage. It's not all about Michael Monroe, lads.
Right. Yeah. Andy was a huge part of what made Hanoi successful.
Made hats fashionable.
Again, which was unusual.
And I'm not even a hat guy.
No, but it looks good on him. But
that's a line from Caddyshack. Looks good on you, though.
But it had to be like, on one hand, you get invited to jam with Andy McCoy. You're going to join this band, do this project with them. You got to have all this like excitement, like, oh my God, I'm going to be kind of working with a living legend. But then you got that other side where the drugs creep into everything. And it obviously has a major impact on all of his work. So you got the excitement of, I'm going to get to work with a legend. And then you've got kind of got a history. So how's this going to play out? And I think everybody else knows how it's going to play out. But
I don't know.
You want to go along for that ride.
If you're an up-and-coming musician, you just roll the dice.
Right.
You hope for the best, expect the worst. You know that what could be worse? Touring with Thunders.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that was no fucking picnic either. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Clapton had his. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Ray Charles said it was harder to quit cigarettes than it was heroin.
Really?
Yeah, but the story goes on and on and on. Tortured genius. The music speaks for itself.
It does.
The track record with Hanoi, which we will get around to, lads, in another episode or whatever. But we just thought it would be fun to split these two bands that involved Andy McCoy. There's some good music there. If you want to search it out, you can find it. It's out there.
Yeah, you can get both albums delivered to your house for $10.
Yeah, exactly. Discogs. That's what we do. So, Andy, tell the people what they need to hear before we wrap it up.
We appreciate you hanging out with us today. As always, we hope you'll follow us on social media, shoot us an email, keep in touch with us, let us know if there's something you'd like us to cover. And as always, stay trashy, my friends. And to our fallen comrade, Mr. Mink, I think Pink Floyd said it best. Wish you were here. You're here in spirit, brother.
Godspeed, Mink, wherever you may be.
You've been listening to the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the dirty world of rock and roll. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast for all the latest updates, news, and more.
Got questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes? Reach out to us at rnrguttermail@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
So join us again next time for another wild ride through the raw and gritty side of rock and roll. So until then, keep it trashy.